All right, so you ever really stop and think about what's going on inside your own head? To even begin to get it, we've got to pull back. I mean, way, way back.
Okay, here it is. Hi, you're on a rock floating in space, surrounded by apes. I know, it's a bit of a weird way to start, but stick with me, this is going somewhere.
Because, and this is the good news, you're an ape too. And what we're going to do today is figure out what in the world is going on inside that super advanced, kind of weird, amazing ape brain of yours. So when I say you, I'm not really being accurate, because you isn't really a single you. It's more of a y'all. You're basically a giant bustling city of billions of tiny little guys all just chattering away inside your skull. So come on, let's go meet one of them. This little fella, this is a neuron. Think of it as the adorable little messenger of your brain. It's got a main body with a nucleus and all that, then a really long tail, and these little branches on each end to talk to all its neighbors. They communicate with chemicals, and the more they chat, the stronger their connection gets.
So that brings up a pretty huge question, right? How does this lump of meat actually store and use electricity to send signals? Well, it all starts with a little bit of chemistry. Your neurons are basically just swimming around in this special salty juice, and that creates this crucial difference in electrical charge. See, inside the neuron's tail, you have a ton of potassium ions, but outside, in that salty juice, there are way more positively charged sodium ions. So when the neuron is just resting, the inside is actually a little bit negative compared to the outside.
So how does it fire? Well, it's this awesome chain reaction. It all starts when some chemicals from a neighbor open up a few doors, letting positive charge rush inside. If enough charge builds up, it zips down the tail until it hits a new set of doors. Now, these new doors are different. They're electric. They sense that change in charge and just fly open, creating this whoosh, a wave of electricity that just blasts down the rest of the tail. And that is exactly what gives this whole thing its name. That's a lot of action, right? And it's causing a lot of potential. That's it, the action potential. It is the fundamental spark behind every single thought you have.
But here's the thing. On its own, this electrical signal is, well, it's kind of slow. To speed things up, evolution gave the neuron this nice little fatty coat called a myelin sheath. This coat has tiny gaps in it, which lets the electrical signal play leapfrog, just jumping from one gap to the next. And man, is it dramatically faster.
Okay, so we've met the tiny messengers. Now let's zoom back out to the big picture, the brain itself. And the first thing you're going to notice is, why is it so wrinkly and, kind of gross? Those wrinkles aren't just for show. They have a supercritical purpose. All the main bodies of your neurons, that's what we call gray matter, and it's all located on the brain's outer layer. The wrinkles are just a clever trick to cram as much of that precious gray matter as possible into the tiny little prison of your skull. A smooth brain would mean a much, much less powerful brain. But how did we figure out what all these different wrinkles actually do? Well, it all started with a patient. There was this man who could understand language perfectly, but he couldn't speak. After he passed away, an autopsy showed that a specific part of his brain was damaged. A doctor correctly guessed that this one little area must be what's responsible for making speech. And just like that, the science of brain mapping was born. And that one discovery led us to identify the major wrinkle clusters or lobes. The frontal lobe right up front, that's your CEO. It handles all the planning and decision-making. The parietal lobes on the top and sides are your navigators, processing what you feel and where you are in space. The occipital lobe in the back, that's your visual cortex. It's all about eyesight. And the temporal lobes on the sides handle sound, language, and memory. It's wild how much of our brain power is just dedicated to figuring out what's what. But the tour is not over. We've seen the outside, but if you were to, crack the brain open, there are all sorts of important goodies on the inside. Think of these inner parts as your brain's administrative departments. You've got the thalamus, that's the central router, directing all incoming sensory info, except for smell, to the right place. Then there's the hypothalamus. It's on autopilot, handling stuff like hunger, thirst, and your body temp. And that test you forgot to study for? Yeah, you can thank your hippocampus. Its job is to turn short-term memories into long-term ones. And that sudden jolt of fear or anxiety, that's your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, going off. Okay. Get ready for this, because this fact is absolutely mind-blowing. We've been talking about the whole brain, right? The seat of your consciousness. That's got about 16 billion neurons. But look at this little structure at the back, the cerebellum. Its main job is just coordinating movement, and it contains around 70 billion neurons. That's more than 80% of your brain's total neurons, just dedicated to making sure you can walk and run smoothly.
It really shows you how incredibly complex even simple stuff is. All right, so we've toured the hardware of the brain, but that just tells us what it is, not how it works. How does this whole intricate structure of neurons and lobes actually create the experience of being you? Why do you feel things? Well, to answer that, we first need to get rid of a very, very common myth. You've heard it a million times. The left brain is for logic, the right brain is for creativity. No. No, 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 no. Please, just stop saying this. It's just wrong. The two sides are in constant communication. That's not where your feelings come from. The real answer is so much more interesting, and it brings us right back to our little neuron. It's all about chemicals. Remember how the action potential was started by chemicals opening those doors? Well, it turns out there are different kinds of chemicals. Some of them add electricity, encouraging the neuron to fire, but others are inhibitory. They do the opposite, telling it to quiet down.
And these chemicals, they're called neurotransmitters, and they're basically the main characters in the story of your emotions. So, let's meet the cast.
First up, we've got dopamine. That's the motivator. It's the chemical that says, hey, go get that thing. Then there's serotonin, which is all about regulating your mood and giving you those chill vibes. Epinephrine is just the brain's version of adrenaline, gets you all fired up. And finally, endorphins are your body's natural painkillers, released to help you push through all kinds of discomfort.
But behind these famous stars are the real workhorses of the brain. Glutamate is the brain's universal on switch. It tells neurons all over the place to fire. And GABA is the exact opposite. It's the main off switch, telling neurons to calm down and relax. The balance between these two is fundamental to absolutely everything your brain does. So there you have it. Neurons firing, lobes organizing, chemicals creating feelings. Simple, right? Oh, and consciousness itself? You know, the subjective experience of being you? Yeah, neuroscientists have that completely figured out. It's a super simple process. I'm kidding, of course. Nobody has a clue.
And that brings us all the way back to the beginning. We've seen the electrical mechanics, the chemical messengers, and the whole wrinkly structure. We know that the you inside your head is actually a yawl of billions of neurons. We know a feeling is just a complex chemical cocktail. But even with all of that knowledge, we are still left with the most profound question of all. We know how it all happens, but we still don't really know why. Why does all this intricate machinery result in the feeling of being alive? And that's the mystery that still lies at the very heart of what it means to be a brain.